the different string methods that we can actually see so far when we come to coding as a whole. So in the last one, we've stopped at find, the dot find, and we said that if this particular element is not found, it's going to return the outcome of -1. But if it is found, it's going to return the index of that particular word, the particular character that has been found. So we're still going to look at other concepts when we apply the find method or the function itself. So let's continue with what we for example, we had used word. So let me just run from this particular let me just run the code and see one time, so I can run all, so that in case you want to reference anything. What is it saying? What is it showing? Right? Okay. Okay, this was what we did. It was something that we. Okay, let's try to correct this. So an error on its own. You have to run it once again. So it's a whole lot of things here. Let's see how we can get it. So please, whenever you come into a meeting, please try and mute yourself.
Yeah.
Please. Okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry, I'm hearing a background noise. I don't know if it's from my end.
Okay, like something like that.
It has stopped. It was doing
Okay.
kind of like sound. Okay, thank you. I think it has stopped.
It's better now, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I think it was a fan. It's really hot here, so I have to put on. All right. All right. So let's continue with the class. Sorry. So we looked at the method of the find method, and we said that if it doesn't exist in a particular variable or in a particular string, it will definitely return as -1. So let's look at how can we be specific in the what in the index that we want to find. How can we be specific? And remember that we defined the word. We gave a variable name word is equals to window. So let's try window. So let's add other codes to the other cells to this. By the time we add other cells to this, let's be specific enough. Let's see. So word dot find, word dot find. Let's see. We want to find W, and we want we want it to be specific enough. We want it to be specific enough. So what are we going to do? We want to find W, but we don't want to find this first W. We want to find this other W. And let's see how we can make it. How can we skip this particular W? So let's see. We're going to say definitely we're going to put it in a string, and we want this W, but we do not want it. We want it to start from a particular index. The first W, the index is 0, but this particular put a comma and I add what 1. It means I don't want it to start from 0. I want it to start from what I, which is the index of 1. Remember that when we are doing indexing, when we are looking at the Python code, the index starts from 0, 1, 2, 3 from to the end of it. So we want to find the value, the W, the index of W, but not the first W. So we make it specific enough. So by the time we run this code and shift enter, you can see that the index of that particular W here is not 0, it is 5. That means the second W. And which, if you look at this particular one again, you can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the last letter there is 5, the index of what? 5. So that's how you can be specific enough when you are trying to use the find methods. Okay, so let's define another string. Let's see how we can actually, if you want to start, if you want to, what a particular letter we want to find, how we can, where we want it to start and where we want it to end still using the dot, find the what method. So let's continue. Let's define a variable. Let's name it as movie underscore name. So we use movie underscore name, and I think I actually love this movie as well. Uh, Bat Batman Dark Knight. So let me just use here Batman Dark Knight. So if we use this and decide to say we want to call the movie name, definitely we have defined it as a movie name, Batman Dark Knight. By the time we get this and we want to find A, the letter A, but we want that particular letter A to be from T upwards. We want it to be from T upward, and we want it to stop at N. We want it to stop at N. So what we are going to do, how can we use the find method? Please pay attention. It's very important that we get this concept done. Movie underscore name dot find. Okay, this is when we're going to use the start and the end operation here. So what are we looking for? We want A, and which A are we looking for? We want the one between T to what N. So the very first one we're starting, the index we're starting is definitely going to be what? B is 0, A is 1, T is definitely 2. So that's where we're starting. And where are we stopping? We want it to stop at what N. So if T is 2, 3, 4, 5. So by the time we want it to, we were just looking for N, we're just looking for A in this particular. So you can decide to just put 6 as well. We will put 6, that's where it's going to stop, which it means we just want to find what A. So if you shift enter here or if you run it, you can see that the index of what of A here, the index of A here between the between 2 and 6 index, that is TMAN, is what is definitely what 4, because if you look at it, it's definitely what 4. So that's how far we can go for the find method. Let's go to another one that we actually know of, and which is definitely the what capitalize. Capitalize. The function of capitalize is very like with the word, with what it comes up capitalize. It means it converts the very first letter to an upper word case. So let's define something like say movie, and these are very basic things that everybody should actually get. So let's say the Godfather. So we can see the Godfather here. By the time you define this as the Godfather and you tend to use capitalize, so movie, you can just say movie dot capitalize. So capitalize. Please note, take note of the spelling of the capitalize. It's very, very important. And by the time you do this and you run this, definitely is going to do what? Show that the Godfather, the T has been what? Capitalized. Only the T has been capitalized. The same thing goes with title. Please guys, excuse me, let me just pick this call. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. I might have to really fasten up the class because of what just came in. I'm really sorry about that, but let me try to see what I can do. So the next one we're going to look at, please can you confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So what you're going
Yes.
to do now, the next one is the movie dot title, which we have done capitalized. So movie dot title, if you want to use movie dot title, what is it going to have? This is a very basic. I'm revising this thing because we will need it in our word project. That is the next one we're going to do. So movie dot title will it will convert all the first letters of words. So it means that it's going to convert all the first letters of word. It means that the Godfather here is going to be the capital T. It has changed to capital T, and G has changed to what? Capital G. So that's the beauty of all these methods. And the next one I'm going to do, which is very, very important, is going to be very, very important if you're going to data science. Please, it is going to help you a lot. Is digit what? Is digit method. It checks if a particular, it checks and converts a potential string that is a digit into what? A particular kind of number. It could be, and mostly is always an integer. So let's give an example. So let's define a text. Let's just say text. Oh god, please excuse me. Hello, please confirm you can hear me. I see my village people are still attacking me this night. Sorry. Um,
Yes, we can.
please confirm.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay.
I know you're village people. Please go and answer them. But we can hear you.
Okay,
We can hear you.
okay. All right, so let's continue. Sorry. The next one I'm going to do is let me just use ABC, and I click enter. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use and check if that particular listing can be converted into digit, and it's going to give out a Boolean value. So text dot please pay attention to look at how it is digit, and it's going to be here. So by the time you run this now, you can see it's going to give us as false because ABC, there is no way ABC is going to what? Give us a number a digit on its own. But take a look at this. Please take a look at this. This MTXT, I define it as what? Let's say 45. So by the time I do this, I click enter and I say txt dot is digit. It's supposed to show now. This okay is digit, and by the time you do this, definitely we know that TST this inside a quotation is definitely a string. But because of the is digit method, is going to do what? Convert that string character. It converts that string characters to what? To a digit, and is going to return something that is different from what? False, which is true. So that's what happened. It does that. It does the conversion itself. But what if it is what if it is a float number? Let me just do it directly here. What if it is a float number? Say let's say 4.5, and we just convert it from there. We don't want to waste time. So is digit. So by the time we do is digit here, let's see what will happen. It's definitely going to be false because it is not able to convert this 4.5, which is a string character, already into what? A digit. It doesn't see it as a digit. So that's what we have. And the next one we're going to look at is the start with. I think we have used that for those ones that we have been coding before. there's a particular method known as starts with. So starts with and ends with. It means that to check if the string starts with a character, to start with a character or a string. For example, let me then a planet, or define a variable planet equals to mass. Let me just use mass. And by the time you use mass, now define that same planet and say planet dot starts with, okay, please pay attention, starts with. And by the time you say, well, let's say we want to put a particular letter that we want to, that is not here. If we say T here, you can see that if you run this, it's going to give us false because there is no T in what mass. But if we use M, if I decide to use M here, if I use small m, let's see what it will give. You can see it's still false because it is case sensitive. So we tend to do or use m, and by the time we do this, it's going to give us true. The same thing we can use for what? For ends with. Let's use ends with here, ends with. So we can decide to remove this and use ends with. So let's use ends with, and which is END and ends with. So we can see how this, look at it very carefully. So let's see if it's actually true, which is false. Let's put S here, which is true. You can see the method that we have used right now. The next thing goes to the replace method in Python. Let me just try. This replaces the string with another. But let me see. Remember when I said that strings are immutable. For us, for this particular thing to work, we need to do what? Define that string and assign it to a particular value again. So let's just say language. Let me just use language. I'm defining a variable now. I said, let me just say in 2008, very sure what I'm telling you, that Java is the most, definitely it was the most popular programming language. Then if you do not know Java, then you have not started. Unlike today, that today it is Python that is dominating the market, and people are actually trying to make it into Python because it is beginner friendly and it does a whole lot of things. It is general purpose. You can use Python to do a whole bunch of things. So what are we going to do now? We decide to run this. We have defined a text and we're putting it inside this particular language. There is a sentence, we'll add a cell and we want to use the dot replace. So what are we going to do? We are going to redefine, we're going to assign a new variable. Can just say new language, new underscore language. I pray this person that is trying to distract me doesn't come in at this particular time. Is language. You're going to call out the name of the variable here, dot replace. What do you want to replace? We want to replace 2008. I want to replace 2000 and let me use the double 2008 with what? With 20. Well, it was at 2021 that Python became very popular as well. But you can see that I've made a mistake here. If I'd run this, it will not work. I have to put them in two different quotations. So by the time I do that, I can also decide to replace Java with Python. So I just use the dot replace again. And what am I replacing? I'm going to put them in a string. And what am I replacing is going to be Java. Please remember that it is case sensitive, comma, another quotation, and what I want to put what Python there. So by the time I do this, Python should be capital letter. That's taking me to an extent so far. So it should be capitalized. So by the time we call out this particular, decide to run this. Did I define it as a new language? Yes, I did that. So if I put a new cell here and I call this out, I decide to call new underscore language here, tab, and I decide to call it out. You can see in 2021, Python is the most popular language. So you can see how we can actually use the dot replace method here. It's very massive to use, and it's very handy at this particular point. So let's go into, I don't know if anybody has any questions right now. Please, if you have any questions right now, let me know. Any questions? Okay.
Yes, please, I have a question.
Okay, Mr. Ko.
Sorry, please, I didn't join the class early enough. I was having serious network issues. So, quick question. The capitalize and title, I tried it on my PyCharm, and I noticed that the capitalize only capitalizes the first letter of the string.
That's the work of a capitalized, but the data of title will capitalize each of the words.
Okay.
Is that what you had? Is that what you had?
Yes.
Exactly. That's the function. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Any other one? Okay. Without wasting much time, let's get there. We might end the meeting on time tonight. Sorry about that. I really have to. Really have to. We're going to look at the in operator. There's what we call in Python. There's what we call the in operator in string. That means it's to check if a string contains a character or another word string. In, if we are going to use the word, the keyword here is in. If it contains, it's going to return it as what? A Boolean value known as true. If it's not, it's going to be what? False. So let's define a short variable here. And let's say, let's just use Python, just Python Django. So I don't know if I've ever heard of Django. Django is a framework of Python where they used to build apps, web applications using Python. So Django. So by the time you do that, we can decide to define a variable here, app, and say equals to. And by the time it does that, I will just want to make something like, I want to define a variable inside the program itself. So let's see. So let's see something like this. Let me run this. Instead, I could have just decided to say capital APP in program, but I just want to make it readable enough. So I can say app in program. App in what program? By the time you run this, you can see that the result would definitely be true, because in this APP equals to capital APP, it is in this particular program which was defined here. There is a capital APP here. You can also see this, instead of just defining it as a variable, you can also decide to say DJ. You can see that there is a DJ in this particular, let's say DJ in program. Let's see what it will return. So if we shift and enter, it will return what? True, because there is a DJ in this particular word text. So that is a practical example of in operator. So I believe at this particular point, we can decide to say that we understand the concept of what? The in operator. And let me just look at something. I think it's very important that we get to understand this concept of in operator more explicitly. And I'm just going to try, any point we stop, we can actually. So let me give you a practical example here. And if I say, let me go to a new cell. Okay, I've added a new cell already. Example is ask for an input from the user. You are going to define a function. Ask an input from a user. Check if the input includes character A or not. If it is true, print the input has A in it. So let's just define a variable. A function has underscore A. So by the time it has underscore A, definitely is going to be an empty, but we're not taking any this thing. And by the time we do that, let's ask for the user input. So text equals to input. Remember that input comes with a default string value. So we can just say, please enter a text. Okay, any text you want to enter. at this particular point. So now we're going to now work on that text. If we're looking for A in text, which your user is going to put. If there is A in that text, what are we going to say? Oh, sorry. I went to click Shift Enter. So if A in text, what is it going to have? Print what? It has A in. It has A in what? It has A in. Now, what I'm going to do now, right now, please guys, pay attention. I want to use the formatted string we used yesterday. It has A in. That means I'm going to reference the text in which the user is going to put. So what am I going to use? I'm going to use the curly bracket here, the decorative bracket here. I'm going to put the assigned value here. And once I do that, I leave the quotation dot format. I'm just trying to apply what we did yesterday, dot format. And what are we putting here? We're going to reference the variable text that we have done already. So by the time we get this, we click enter, and we now say, okay, what if that particular text contains A, okay, this is what you should do. Else, what should you do? Else, remember that this is a catch-all kind of syntax. So print what? Print, what are we putting? This input does not what? Okay, you can just say has no what? No A in. You reference it again. You can put, sorry, reference it again, 0, and you leave the quotation sign dot format. What are we putting here? Text. Okay, so this is a formatted string. If you run this now, and let's see how it's going to be for us. So Shift Enter. Okay, so what is going on right now? It's working for us, but what should we do now? There's something we are not doing wrong. We are not doing right. What should we do? What are we doing for this particular function to work for us?
To call the function.
Fantastic. So call the function. I know why Mr. Mark remembers this. I know very well why he remembers this. And he knows why that I know that why he's remembering this. Mr. Mark, am I right?
Yes, yes, spot on.
Yes, so I remember how. Yeah. So you have called the function now. Let's say, please enter a text. So I can decide to say, just say, let me just put this is just a text. Okay. So I press enter. You can say it has A in this. It has A in this. It's just a what? A text. So this is what we are trying to say, that this is the text in which the user brought in. It has A in this is just a text. So this is what the user had imputed, and this is what we are taking in as the the in operator. So it has it. So what if we call it out again? Let's call it out, and we should not make sure that it doesn't have A in it. So let's say you can just decide to put anything, so and click enter, because the input has no A in. So you can see all these things that we are typing does not have A in it. So these are the ways you can actually see when you're using data in code when you go to data science. There are certain values that might ask you to check if it is there in a particular column or a particular row or a set of rows. So you are going to use it handily when you get there. So let me just make it, since we have gone far in programming, I would like us to just, you can decide to use this in one line. Let's use this in one line. Or instead of using in one line, let's try to use a return, because we are getting advanced. So let's just say let's define has underscore, let's say as underscore A, can decide to use it as, well, let's say 1. Let me just use that. So define it as a variable, as a function. When we press enter, we got just use our text. What is the text here? Just try to tell the user I could actually impute something. So you can just impute please enter a text. Okay, I'm just trying to use the return here, and let me keep the space so that it will look wonderful. I click enter. Please pay attention. And what am I going to do? Return. What am I returning? I want it to return A in text. So I'm going to make it A in what? In text. Okay, very, very handy here. So by the time we do this and we run this, we call it out and we call the function now as underscore A1 here. By the time we run this, put in the bracket and run it here, you can see enter your text and let's see a long time ago. Okay, please guys, what do you think will be the outcome of this particular function? What do you think will be the outcome of this particular function that I want to run now? What do you think will be the outcome? Okay, someone is saying true.
True.
Okay, true, good. Okay, very good. It means that you guys are following. It's going to return what? True, because there's definitely what? A in it. So that's a very perfect example of how to use the in operator in Python. It's very, very handy and it's very, very useful when it comes to what? When you're doing your data manipulation, data wrangling, trying to set out certain things on a particular text. I think there's a current project I told you. I think I showed you guys yesterday, still ongoing. I've been able to convert the whole column, a whole 800 and 800, or was it 800 and 894,000 what they call it, rows of data using the Excel file. I've been able to use Python code to convert the first column we needed. There are different languages in that particular column. So what the Python code is supposed to do is to get each of the values, the elements of that column, no matter the languages, in different languages, it converts that language, it detects that language and converts it straight to what? English. So that's the very first stage I've done. The next stage, we are going to use the in operator. We're going to decide there are certain texts that they use. Let me go to my, let me go to the, let me try to share, let me try to look at my, let's see what we have. So there's something that we're going to do. So we're going to replace a whole lot of things here. These were the steps we were supposed to use for the project. We're going to, all these things that you're seeing on my Discord here, we're going to replace all these things and decide to do what? Remove this particular row. So anytime we detect that particular like in that particular cell or that particular row, there is stop, there is this name, we want to delete that row. So this is a practical example that you're going to use. And you can see all these things here are text in nature. That means they are string character, which you are also going, which if I did not know how to make it work, I would be struggling. So it's very, very important that you understand a whole lot of things. And I think in the last class, few classes, I showed you the code and how we got it done. So it's something that you see practically, and it's an everyday kind of thing. So that's for the in operator. We're supposed to round it up tonight. So let me look at what they call it. It's what we call string comparison. It's what we call string comparison in Python. I might tell you to read on that. It's called string comparison in Python. We need to check two strings. If they are equal, which one is greater, which one is alphabetically comes later. So if we decide to say let me try to define something here. So let me say orange. I can decide to say orange equals to, I put orange, like I just want to just make it very, I click enter, I define another one, apple equals to, I click what, apple again. By the time I do that and I say something, I'm going to just run it here. So if this one is just a simple thing, I don't think I really need to use it. I'm just trying to compare strings. So if orange is less than apple, print this. So looking at orange and apple, you can see that apple has 5 and this has this. So let me just say orange. I don't want to waste much of your time again. So let me say orange less than apple. If I run this, you can see that it is false. Why is it false? Because definitely orange is not what? Orange is not less than what? Apple. You can see orange has 6 letters here, but that of apple is 5. So you can see a practical example here. Now, please pay attention. I want to show you something known as ASCII. Let me just, I think I Googled at some point, it's American Standard, American Standard, okay. It's called American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Please take note of what I'm about to tell you, that capital letters in Python, in programming, most especially in Python itself, it's always, let me go to the string and see. Capital letters as lesser ASCII values, or kind of what representation than the small letters. We're going to see a practical example here. So let me just see, the next use of an inbuilt Python function as ORD. So let me put A. Let me show you something here. Capital A. By the time I run capital A here, you can see that the value for capital A, the ASCII of what? Capital A is 65. But that of ORD is an inbuilt function that you use to check. And you use small letter A, you can see that is giving you 97. It means that the capital small letter A has a greater what? ASCII value compared to what? The capital letter. It is a way of representing what? Characters in what? Now let's see what it means for abbreviation for American Standard Code for Information Intelligence. Is a standard data transmission code that is used by smaller and less powerful computers to represent both textual data, letters, numbers, and punctuation marks, and non-input characters. So this is very handy at some points, and that's what I just wanted to show you how it is done. So you can decide to run certain what they call it, certain listing on it. So you can decide to say A. Sorry, definitely I'm going to put it in string. So A greater than capital A. You can see here, if you run this, it's going to give us true, because the ASCII value of small letter A is greater than what? A. Practically, I've not really gotten to use this so far in data science, but I believe there's this particular, when it comes to NLP, natural language processing, which is a very important field I would love to master in the nearest future. We're going to make use of all the sentiment analysis, trying to play with it as we go along. So you can decide to say, if I've added less than sign here, if I added less than sign here, it could have given you what? False. So that is a practical example of string comparison and how it is being done. I don't know if there's any questions so far. Is there any questions so far? All right, at this particular point, I would like to say I have to end the class now, and I have to do what? Stop the recording. Thank you guys for joining.